Hi, Dr. M. It's a pleasure to be here. And to anybody else watching, welcome to my Capstone course final presentation. Today we'll be talking about AI in the e-learning environment, specifically how these tools are used, what are some of the considerations towards it. With the emergence of technology and humans becoming more and more intertwined, one could argue this goes back to the Industrial Revolution or even before then. Today we see an eruption of a new technology we have just not seen before: artificial AI tools, artificial intelligence. About 60% of instructors used AI in their daily teaching activities, according to one study, with 51% of them believing it had a positive impact, while 64% of students used AI to generate a framework for completing written assignments. So some of the AI uses for tools can be subtle, like just correcting grammar or sentence structure. Others can be generative. It can create this entire written assignment for you if you wanted it to. How accurate it is and how ethical that is a different story, right? Because of the increasing relevance of AI, I thought it'd be a very important topic to discuss for my final capstone course. Without further ado, let's get started. This is just some of the topics we'll be discussing today: the role of AI in the e-learning environment, what it does, how it does it, what uses are best for it, pedagogical outcomes, academic outcomes, do students end up learning more or less because of it, ethical and pedagogical considerations. Obviously, AI is very new, so there's a lot of unknowns there, and there's a lot of already potentially damaging things that we've seen so far, even in short-term studies. Psychological considerations of AI usage as well. This is probably going to be one of the most important parts of this presentation, because I do think that there are some significant concerns there. There's also some ethical guidelines, suggestions we'll be going over. There is no universally understood framework for using AI tools, but we do have some suggestions. And then finally, we'll be concluding, and I do believe by the end of this, you will be under the of the opinion that a balanced approach is necessary towards the use of AI in this environment, for many of the reasons we'll be going over. So what can AI actually do? What is its role in the e-learning environment? Well, it can provide personalized learning experiences that are tailored to each student. This means that students that are at a different learning level can get personalized feedback that is based on that learning level. A lot of the times in classrooms, physical classrooms, even online environments, there are 20 plus students. Not everyone is going to have that personalized feedback from the instructor, because the instructor doesn't know their background, their academic history, but AI chatbots can easily utilize all of this information to provide that really good feedback and personalized environment. This personalized approach can make the environment more interesting, so they can be more motivated to learn. AI software can be used to create e-assessments that involve statistical analysis and calculations for students with the ability to provide step-by-step guidance on how solutions are reached. It will break down those solutions for the student, and if the student has any questions, they can just ask the AI chatbot and get instant feedback. Particularly for learning a new language, AI chatbots can be very useful. Translation tools are perhaps the most simplest and most effective way of using AI chatbots, and they can actually personalize some of these language learning objectives towards the student, because not all the dialects are going to be covered in a universal textbook of English, right? English has different localities that have different ways of saying things, so the AI chatbot would be able to consider that as well in the learning process. AI can also help in the form of generative content. This means it is able to create things for you without you having to build it from the ground up. This has helped me personally in this presentation. These slides are from a template that was created by an AI, so I don't have to tinker around with the design and every little thing to make it look good, because the AI already did it for me, and I can spend more time doing research and practicing my speech and notes and all of this stuff, right? Much better than having to tinker with every little detail and making sure it's right. I'm sure it's helped you as well, creating slides instantly so you don't spend an hour designing it, right? AI tools can enhance online learning that utilizes gamification. Gamification is basically just implementing certain factors from games like video games, board games, what have you, and putting it into the learning environment. Chatbots and AI tools can enhance that by providing randomized different experiences each time you boot up the game, and the game can be tailored to the the student's personality. Some people like turn-based games, other people like narrative games, right? Tying these factors into the learning environment is a very effective way that AI tools can be used. And students were most cited to use AI so that they can allow themselves more time to engage in these higher order critical thinking activities like doing research, conducting calculations, understanding how things work in economics, for example, right? So these are very important things that the student can put their time into instead of designing and tinkering with other things, right? And from a practical standpoint, AI tools are also able to be integrated into university portals so that they can easily retrieve data that students might have trouble finding. They don't know who to ask for what, right? Tuition, financial aid, academic schedules, research opportunities, study resources. All these things can be found in one place with an AI chatbot that just answers all the questions for you right away, and it's accessible. You can even use it from your phone, right? And through ITS's intelligent tutoring systems, AI chatbots can allow students to engage with chatbot tutors at any time of the day, provided they have internet access through a computer or a phone. This insane accessibility is what a teacher just can't compete, right? You're not always going to be there for the student 24/7. If the student wants to ask a question at 2 a.m., you're probably not going to be able to answer, but the AI chatbot can. So this is very, very useful. As a matter of fact, the other day I saw an ad where somebody was using an AI chatbot on the advertisement, and they were asking it to create a test for a subject that they were interested in, and it did it right there. And they can also do things like flashcards for studying purposes. So these AI chatbots, they do certainly play a good role in accessibility and instant feedback and personalized learning. With this in mind, we're just going to broadly go over some of the motivations and barriers behind using AI tools. Um, some of the practical applications as listed here could be just providing information and data in an instantaneous manner, enhanced learning and communication skills. As I mentioned earlier, AI chatbots are able to tailor towards that specific person and how they speak their language. Not all languages, Spanish can be spoken in a variety of different ways depending on the local dialect, right? One thing you'll notice is that both a motivation and a barrier is critical thinking skills. Critical thinking can either be improved or denigrated by AI tools. This is why a balanced approach is necessary, because otherwise cognitive offloading will happen and people will just outsource all of their critical thinking skills to a machine. You don't want that. And with that in mind, let's talk about some of the academic outcomes. So one study finds that AI tools on teaching practices can have a positive impact, especially when it comes to improving interactions among teachers and students, perhaps surprisingly. But this is because AI chatbots can act as a sort of mediator between the two. The students can ask the chatbot, maybe some mundane questions that the teacher doesn't necessarily need to get time out of their day to answer, so they can just go to the chatbot and ask it. AI tools can also accurately assess student needs, can help in structuring lecture goals, and improve the timing of objective implementation. This study had a small sample size, but regardless, it does have shown to have a positive impact on improving problem-solving skills. Another study finds that chatbots can provide effective support for students. This support is near 24/7 so long as they have internet access, and by doing so, they're better prepared for and more likely to perform well in their academic journey than some other students. Universities are also able to retain more students. This could be for a variety of reasons. I think this is because they can offer more clarity where there is some fogginess to, doing school online. There's some questions that might go unanswered, but AI chatbots, because of the anonymity and accessibility, people might be less hesitant to ask certain questions. Support can also come in the form of immediate valid feedback using qualitative assessment from data obtained from AI tools. One study found that AI tools were able to accurately assess students 93% of the time. Now, that 7% can be a major issue. That is a pretty large number relatively. If you get it 7% of the time wrong, that's 7% of students that are not being accurately assessed. So while technology will likely improve in the future, that is something to be considered for sure. So AI tools can represent a substantial opportunity for personalizing and providing adaptive virtual learning environments. These virtual learning environments are known as PAL, which is Personalized Adaptive Learning Systems. They propose that these systems, according to one study, can improve learning in virtual environments by optimizing learning processes, addressing each student's individual needs, and by doing so, they provide positive outcomes in academic performance, student participation, and motivation. The previously mentioned gamified systems are also able to outperform traditional educational settings and online learning formats when it comes to academic performance and knowledge retention among students. They also find that social learning is enhanced in gamified environments, but there are consistent checks, like if the student has to constantly verify whether something is correct or need more clarity on the environment, that it's not as effective as traditional formats. So there should be a delicate balance between, the engagement of somebody that is in this gamified system and their cognitive load. They should be still engaging in those higher order processes. Otherwise, it's not as effective as traditional learning environments. However, AI tools are not without their considerations, especially when it comes to ethics and pedagogical outcomes. Students can be tempted to plagiarize work, reducing or even eliminating originality. Not all students have access to AI technology, thus exacerbating inequalities. AI generation does blur the line between human and AI generated content. So educators could have trouble distinguishing between the two, and they might not be able to accurately assess, the students' abilities. AI chat and search bots are prone to hallucinations, where data can be produced from sources that are not accurate. AI can provide definitive conclusions without definitive evidence. This can be very crucial in academic settings because facts matter, right? You have to get the information correct, and if the AI doesn't, you're using a framework that is just wrong from the get-go. AI is also susceptible to biases formed by societal expectations that can distort reality. These biases can lead to different information provided to different students. And because AI is decentralized and is owned by private entities, they are subject to the whims of those private entities and the motivations of them, right? AI also relies on algorithms and are highly personalized, which can lead to an echo chamber where the user's biases are repeatedly confirmed and emotions are manipulated. This is very, very important. This is one of the biggest parts of AI that is a consideration, because we are not able to check the biases when it is feeding it to us. We can't see our own blind biases when we're constantly being fed what we want to hear. Institutional support for AI literacy is very important as this becomes more and more relevant as time goes on, as technology advances. So there are methods of minimizing some of these negative outcomes if precautions are taken. So one of the biggest concerns regarding AI tools is over-reliance and just depending on it way too much. This can erode critical thinking, it can erode originality and creativity. These are all important aspects, very important when it comes to any professional or educational setting. In addition, these deficiencies can produce negative academic outcomes and diminish career prospects. Other ethical concerns in AI include data privacy, trust, lack of algorithmic transparency, deepfakes, and psychological well-being for the students. And because psychological well-being is so important, that's going to be the next topic of discussion for today. So AI tools clearly have a role they can play when it comes to the e-learning environment, but there are some psychological considerations. According to a systematic scoping review of 24 studies, they did find there were some mixed results. Positive impacts include cognitive achievement, self-efficacy, engagement, learning autonomy, and decreased frustration. But they found over-reliance, anxiety, stress, unstable mental health, and social isolation are some considerable considerations and concerns, right? Very important. They concluded that some of the psychological impacts are context dependent across grades, and they can actually affect students from a variety of dimensions, from school-faculty interactions to adolescent subculture to even interactions with family and friends. One point as well I want to make on the social isolation aspect, it does remind me of popular sci-fi movies like Her or Blade Runner, where the main character is clearly psychologically lonely, and they outsource it to a machine with some not very good results. Now, those are just movies, but they are pretty good examples of where we could be headed, right? Who knows? Another study finds that AI can contribute towards the potential for one to undergo what is known as de-skilling. De-skilling means the loss of previously acquired professional skills that are now outsourced to AI. AI just does the work for them, so if you don't use it, you lose it. You become rusty, right? There's also the potential for upskill inhibition. People will, instead of trying to learn something new, they can just have the AI do it for them, and they are missing out on a learning opportunity. These two factors can significantly impact professional development. In another meta-survey, they found that AI tools can lead to over-reliance, which results in diminished, deeper learning and creativity. We'll be going over that a little bit later. And when AI tools are used with ethical consideration and teacher participation, there are improvements among students' problem-solving skills, metacognition, which is basically executive order and higher functioning, analyzing yourself, technical skills, creative thinking, and notably interpersonal skills. They can actually help people practice talking to other people through instant feedback and adaptive pathways for learning. They can also provide multiple learning perspectives that result in personalized feedback and learning support, which encourages reflective learning and self-regulation. But there is a risk of reduction in student independence and on increased reliance on AI tools, which results again in the loss of deep learning. So AI tools can actually also have a profound effect on one's memory. According to one study, AI tools are not only able to reshape how we retrieve memories and engage in critical thinking, but also cultural and societal norms can be altered, which sounds pretty scary, right? AI tools can serve as external memory aids, freeing up time for other tasks, but this could also result in cognitive offloading. Certain things that people don't retrieve themselves and they just allow the AI to do it, they're missing out on that opportunity to really think about what they're trying to retrieve, and instead the information is simply brought to them by the AI tools. Generative AI tools can diminish the capacity for critical thinking that leads to intellectual dependence, addiction, and over-reliance. And this lack of capacity for critical thinking can promote complacency and metacognitive laziness. This means people will just take things at face value. They won't second guess it. a very, very scary notion indeed when it comes to the information environment we live in today. Also, AI can lead memories to being increasingly externalized, where memory retrieval is further outsourced from a personal process to one that is mediated by machines. This is a very scary prospect. By outsourcing these cognitive processes involving memory, AI tools, they transform from being a supportive component to a prosthetic of the mind. So cognitive offloading involves basically outsourcing some thought processes to a machine. Now, this isn't a problem when you're using something like a calculator to conduct, calculations that will take too much time, but it does become a problem when you outsource your creative skills and your critical thinking to a machine. This can actually weaken memory retrieval and even reduce neural connectivity and the synchronization of brain regions. So your brain literally neurologically becomes damaged from over-reliance on this AI and cognitive offloading. Now, AI can change the way people can communicate too. Humans were born into this world. We grow up surrounded by people with face-to-face interactions, and now this is increasingly being mediated by machines and smart devices. And AI agents are actually able to recognize human emotion, and they can shift the way that humans think about conveying information, forming judgment, interpreting social cues, and developing empathy. These changes can affect everyday communication and what it means to form an identity. As humans adapt to the presence of AI and the way AI communicates, researchers suggest there will be a new norm called AI etiquette. So people are increasingly becoming more and more integrated into this, and as a result, the way we communicate will change as well. Now, clearly AI is not without its limitations and significant considerations, but there are some ethical guidelines we can follow to help mitigate some of the bad aspects of it. Now, there's no one-size-fits-all universal framework established yet. We're just not there yet. But there is one study that involved an analysis of 74 documents of researcher experiences and current trends, and they found the ethical protocol. This is an ethical guideline for AI usage that it goes as follows: ETHICAL. E stands for establish your purpose. What does this mean? This means that students and educators should openly discuss exactly what the AI tool is used for, and they should have open communication on any future use. The next step is thoroughly explore options. This involves studying a variety of different types of AI tools and choosing the right fit that is relevant to one's objective. The next step is harness the appropriate tool. After selecting the tool, using it correctly. Inspect and verify output is when one should verify that the selected tool should be used for the appropriate context. This involves incorporating and testing AI tools for application. So this is very important because if you don't use a tool correctly, it can stray you in the wrong path. Next is cite and reference accurately. This involves avoiding plagiarism, something that we do on a regular basis here in this class for APA guidelines. So this is no different here when it comes to using AI tools as well. Acknowledge AI usage transparently. Once again, this involves letting the instructor know exactly what was used, how much was used, where it was used, to avoid misconduct and plagiarism. And the final step is to look over the publisher's guidelines. If your institution doesn't allow any use of AI, it's probably important that you take that into consideration, right? Any publisher as well. If someone wants to publish a book, for example, that you wrote, you might want to let them know if you use AI, otherwise you're going to discredit their publication. So that's also very important. Another consideration involves data. One study suggests that security measures should be taken to prevent unauthorized access and protect privacy. This also involves following already established data policies such as the HIPAA Act, Health Information Portability and Accountability Act, as well as the Protection of Personal Information Act. These are all things that need to be followed when AI is used and implemented in the e-learning environment. And to avoid dependency and some of the negative psychological outcomes, it should be emphasized that AI tools should act as not as a role to replace teachers or anything like that, but as an enhancement role, as something that can help guide students and not necessarily do all the work for them, right? And with that, we are at our conclusion. AI tools can foster critical thinking skills, creativity, language learning, and even interactions between the student and teacher by acting as a mediator. But there are risks, obviously. Cognitive offloading can result in decreased critical thinking and creativity skills, and it can also negatively impact memory retrieval. Also, open communication should be emphasized, between students and teachers so that everyone's on the same page. And ethical guidelines should be implemented. The one I mentioned earlier is a pretty good foundation for ethical guidelines, but ethical considerations should be proactive. As more studies happen in the future, more ethical guidelines will be created, and faculty should be aware of emerging trends. And overall, a broad approach towards the use of AI for online university students is shown to improve critical thinking skills, language learning, productivity, and motivation, but there are concerns involving dependency, academic integrity, accuracy of the information provided, psychological well-being among students, privacy, and trust. Personally, I would argue that the AI role should be limited in this environment. There's too many uncertainties, and what we know now is very mixed. And I think we should just take a step back and do more studies, more longitudinal studies, because I'm particularly concerned about cognitive offloading. As people outsource higher order thought processes to machines, they can become over reliant on it and dull their brains. Their brains become just not as effective as they would. This is what I'm seeing through my studies and my own experiences. This is just, not just anecdotal, but from what I've read. So we're on shaky grounds here. I would conclude by saying that we should be very cautious in our approach towards AI tools. With that being said, I just want to say thank you, Dr. M, for this opportunity. It's been a pleasure and an honor to be here. I look forward to my future endeavors, and I do plan on getting my PhD one day, so that's the next big step. Thank you so much. And my voice is going bad after this. I practiced too many times. Thank you. So this is my reference sheet. It is quite long. This is the first page, second page, third page, fourth page, fifth page, sixth page. There's 32 references. Thank you and have a great day.